KHOU 11 News at 6 starts now.
Good evening, I'm Cheryl Mercedes. Thanks for joining us on KHOU.com. Tonight, CenterPoint says it is ramping up efforts to restore power. Some crews are out surveying damage while others are making repairs. At 5 o'clock today, CenterPoint said that more than 447,000 customers still don't have power. CenterPoint says about 2,200 other crews arrived overnight to help get people back online. In Cyprus, which was hit by the derecho and a tornado, we saw about a dozen trucks working near power lines and large transmission towers. This is by West Road and Fry Road. CenterPoint says it has restored power to more than 400,000 customers since Thursday, and it expects to have 90% of people back online by Wednesday. Today, water, food, and supply drives were held across Houston to help storm victims. Ugochi Iloka stopped by one in 5th Ward.
On the corner of Granger and Market is where hundreds of families got the help they so desperately need today. A distribution center wrapping up right here in 5th Ward as volunteers give back.
We got 4 bags of ice.
20 large pallets of free bottled water and bags of ice. Handed out to more than 800 families. One car after the other, 350 plus, lined up looking for assistance.
Do you know how appreciative I am? I can jump up and down in my own car.
So much gratitude shown to agencies like the Houston Health Department, CERT, HFD, and HPD for stepping up today.
This is fabulous. You don't know how important this is to a community like this. You know, and plus it makes them feel so loved.
Joetta Stevenson is the president of the Greater 5th Ward Super Neighborhood. And even though she doesn't have power like so many others on her block, she's ready to serve.
I've been driving bags of ice to people who don't have cars. And I've been taking it to their house because they are so hot.
She's not the only one helping her own in the heat.
There were some people that couldn't come out and get any water because they're older, elderlies. So I got them some ice and water.
Jennifer Rodriguez has too been without power since the first day the storm hit Thursday night.
I'm very thankful, because, right now we're in the heat.
Supply drives like this offering ice and water are helping Jennifer and Joetta, along with several others, stay cool. How happy are y'all they're doing this?
Really happy.
Was this a big help?
Oh, yeah, I like it. I appreciate it.
And they hope the volunteers can feel the appreciation. One fire department from Euless even came more than 3 hours away to lend a helping hand. Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
Today, more cooling centers are opening across Harris County. Precinct 4 Commissioner Leslie Briones showed us around the Bayland Community Center. One of the spots open for people to charge their devices, cool off, and grab something to eat.
I worry about our seniors. I worry about those with health conditions, those who are vulnerable. Please reach out.
We also learned about some of the things first responders have been dealing with since the storm.
Last night, our first responders responded to a fire and a call for service and were met by a individual with a weapon that was confronting them. They then retreated with the partnership of law enforcement. They came back up and were able to talk to this woman who was acting erratically.
First responders found out her generator was apparently pumping dangerous levels of carbon monoxide into her house. Now, if you have portable generators, make certain that the exhaust is away from entrances and any air intakes. Houston ISD says it will decide sometime tomorrow what schools, if any, will go back to class at the beginning of the week. Today, Superintendent Mike Miles went to look at Sinclair Elementary. He says it and 3 other schools, that's Pew, Robinson, and Page Elementary schools, were significantly damaged. Though Miles says the biggest factor right now is power, and that 90 of the 274 district schools are without. Add to that, like many families, anything inside the school refrigerators has to be tossed out.
There's perishables that were lost, milk spoiled, but we have a great nutrition department and they'll be ready to go. They're working the problem right now, and on Monday, every kid who comes to school will get breakfast and lunch like always.
Superintendent Miles says the goal is to have all schools ready to go if power is restored by Monday. We're also getting a look at some of the cleanup efforts across Houston. Air 11 flew over Timber Grove this afternoon. Several large uprooted trees were still topped over, some onto homes. Crews were working to cut them up and move them out. We also saw some blue tarps covering roofs that were damaged. Let's go now to meteorologist Pat Kaplan. Pat, for people without power, meaning they probably don't have AC out there, things are really heating up.
Yeah, it was a hot day today. High temperatures made it to 91 degrees at Intercontinental. So that's a few degrees above normal, but every degree matters when you're dealing with no power and no air conditioning. Good news, though, this morning we were a touch below normal, mid-60s. We're not going to be that cool, though, as we go through the next few days. Sunset coming up at 8:10. All right, live look at numbers right now across Harris County. 90 for Rice Military, upper 80s for Edo, same for Bush and Hobby. Deer Park at 88 degrees, Spring at 90, Sugar Land at 90, but Stafford at 93 degrees. In the wider shot, you can see 89 Columbus, 91 for Brenham and Huntsville, 87 in Livingston, and the cool spot on the map down at the beaches in Galveston at 84 degrees. But you throw in the humidity, everybody feels hot. Even down in Galveston, feels like the low 90s, feels like 101 in Sugar Land, feels like 100 in Mont Belvieu, and the mid 90s for both Bush and Hobby, so mid to upper 90s. The feels like temperatures in the shade at this hour. We are dry, we are quiet, and we are not talking about storm chances for the foreseeable future. The system that brought us that dangerous weather now well off towards the east, but boy, was it a doozy. And again, classified as a derecho. Basically, that means you have to have severe thunderstorm winds for a distance over 240 miles. We met that criteria because our storm continued all the way into southeast Louisiana for a path length of 490 miles of destructive, damaging winds, and you could see all the damaging wind reports going through the state of Louisiana once it exited southeast Texas. So we're quiet for the time being, but it is going to be warm and muggy for the evening hours. We're in a dry stretch, though, so we don't have to worry about any more severe weather, but it is going to be a hot week again as temperatures start to build into the 90s. The root of this is this dome of high pressure down to the south that's going to very slowly build through Mexico and into South Texas, and this just becomes very stubborn. It doesn't really go anywhere as we head into the upcoming week, and so temperatures are expected to remain above normal here going all the way through the end of the month. So this is going to be a long stretch finally of some nice weather. I mean, we've had a pretty crummy spring with a lot of rain so far, so we do get to dry out. Areas that are plagued with flooding, you're going to see some big improvements. The problem, though, is until we get power restored to everyone, it's going to be the heat. And you can see temperatures are going to be extreme, but they are going to run above normal. Our average this time of year is 88 degrees. We're going to be in the low 90s here for the next 10 days. So starting tomorrow, going all the way through Wednesday, 92 is your high temperature, low 90s Thursday, Friday, getting into next weekend and the following week as well. There's your 7-day forecast. A lot of sunshine across the board. So again, there's the silver lining for those still dealing with flood cleanup. Remember, we had that disaster before these storms just over the past 2 weeks. But the heat is going to be an issue for those without power. Just keep that in mind. And we are going to see the heat stick around again all the way into next weekend. Cheryl?
All right. Thanks so much, Pat. Humans weren't the only ones impacted by the storm. Hundreds of injured and abandoned animals are recovering at the Wildlife Center of Texas, and even more are out there. Katira Winfrey spoke to experts who say they need your help.
Typically, little guys like these rely on their mother to get them the food they need, but after storms swept through, many are left to fend for themselves. And at this size, they can't do it.
I'm a self-professed Mrs. Doolittle. I love all animals.
Patricia Martin found a sparrow in the driveway. She believes it may have been in a nest inside a tree that came down during the recent storm.
I just put it in like a little box with a little rice warmer sock and then prayed that it made it till today.
In just one day, people like Martin have delivered a menagerie of animals to the Wildlife Center of Texas.
But the best thing that we can do is get them to a licensed rehabilitator. One of the things that we worry about the most is hypothermia, is just low body temperature.
Wildlife Center staff and volunteers have already been caring for several hundred animals, and it's the springtime, so a lot more animals are having babies. But with the storms, chances are you're going to see a lot more little ones out there who need help.
I was staying in one of the hardest hit areas. There was there's trees down everywhere. Pretty much every house had a tree on the ground, and there's gonna be animals underneath those branches.
There are a few things to keep in mind if you find an injured or abandoned animal. Gather the animal into a towel or blanket-lined box and include a rice warmer or hot water bottle. Keep them away from family pets and do not feed them.
Oftentimes we have people who want to give them food and liquids right away, but their body temperature is too low to be able to handle that nutrition.
For many of these animals, this is their second chance at survival. And Martin says that's an easy gift to give.
I mean, I think it's very important that we do take time out. I mean, not just for wildlife, but just for people as a whole.
Reporting in Houston, Katira Winfrey, KHOU 11 News.
We have a lot more coverage at KHOU.com, including how to check those power outages, how to safely use a generator, and where you can find cooling centers and storm shelters. Just text the word storm to 713-526-1111, and we'll text you back with those links to those stories. That does it for us here at 6. Thanks for joining us. We'll have much more tonight on KHOU 11 News at 10. See you on TV then.